Hey guys, so as you can tell by the title of this video and my appearance, today's a more serious video. I told myself I was going to do this, but then I told myself I wasn't, and I just kind of had a battle with myself about whether I wanted to post this, put this out there or not. Then I started thinking about the fact that when I was going through my hard times, I turned to the internet for strength all the time, whether that was Pinterest and looking at quotes, whether that was YouTube videos, trying to find videos, people who relate to me. Whatever it was, I know I turned to the internet to make myself feel better. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm sorry that it's not my beautiful lighting, perfect skin, makeup, hair video, and I'm sorry that it's not that put together. But I just wanted to get this out there and be as real and raw with you guys as possible because, like I said in my past videos, I feel like the internet sometimes glorifies serious topics, and even some depression / anxiety / suicide videos on YouTube are so put together, and they're so beautiful hair, beautiful makeup, beautiful background, beautiful setup. And not saying that that makes them any less real, but it makes the person watching harder to connect. In my personal experience, whenever I watched a video on depression and suicide when I was going through my problems, and they always had their hair and makeup done, I was just like, I couldn't connect because it wasn't real to me. It was like an actress telling a fake story. Like, it never connected to me like that. So I just didn't want to come on here looking like I had a perfect life, a perfect face, a perfect hairstyle, because I feel like I would never connect to that. So I just wanted to be real and raw with you guys, open up about my story, and do it right now before I change my mind. So let's just get started. So, I wish I could give a reason or explanation for why I got my depression, but I don't know. In 2015, I noticed in the summer that I was kind of off. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry if you guys can hear her videos. Zendaya's right here, and she's not that happy right now, so I have a video on for her. But, yeah. Summer 2015 was just a really down summer for me. Like, I could go out with my friends. I was out with my friends all the time, but as soon as I came home and walked through the door, it was just like not happy. Really toxic environment. Parents arguing all the time. It just became a really ongoing, constant black hole, I guess. And then freshman year started. The beginning of freshman year was not easy for me. I don't know why. I don't know. I just did not have an easy start to freshman year at all. So I think that did kind of contribute to my issues. So September 14th, 2015, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was in the middle of the night sometime. And I remember my older brother had just gotten home from work. And I was crying. And I said, "Can you please go get my parents?" And he said, "Okay." So we got my parents, and my parents came down to my bedroom, and they shut the door, and they said, like, "What's going on? Like, what's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know." That's literally what I said. I said, "I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm sad, and I need help." And they kept picking and of course, they're doing what parents would do. They kept asking what was wrong with me. They kept asking, like, what's going on? Is something going on at school? Did something happen? Like, they just kept asking all these questions, and I do remember getting more and more frustrated as they kept asking all the questions, because I kept saying, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. Please stop asking why. Please stop asking what's wrong, because I don't know." I remember I kept saying that over and over and over and over again until they finally said, "Okay, we'll get you help in the morning." So the morning came. I didn't go to school, obviously, and we went down to my local therapy provider, which is Delaware Guidance. So I went there, I met my therapist. We had the first session, and we just talked and talked and talked for a couple hours. And at the end of my session, she concluded that I definitely had some type of depressive disorder. She couldn't say which one, but she said I had depressive disorder. So I was going to therapy every day after school. I just lied. I was going to therapy every Thursday after school. My mom would pick me up and take me to therapy. And I was going every Thursday up until, I was going every Thursday. And then December 2015, things got bad. I have seasonal depression on top of my clinical depression. Seasonal depression is exactly what it sounds like. Your depression bases off of the seasons. Most of the time, people fall into depressions in the winter. You can have seasonal depression and no other type of depression. But it's like when winter comes around and the days get shorter, it's darker outside, it's gloomy, it's wet, it's cold. A lot of people get depressed. And I have that on top of my clinical depression. So winter was coming around, it was cold, the days were shorter, it was darker outside, and Christmas was coming. I don't like holidays because I don't have family. I mean, it's just the people who live in my house that really come around for the holidays. So it's like I don't have the big family dinners. I don't go out to family houses on Thanksgiving. I don't go to my cousin's houses on Christmas. I don't do that. So it's just always been kind of a sucky holiday, sucky time for me. So the beginning of December 2015, I just got really deep into a really dark place. I shut everyone out. I didn't want to do anything. And then I did what I thought was the only thing I had to do, which was self-harming. My scars aren't really visible anymore because it was so long ago. But, I mean, I guess they're not really that visible. You can only see them up here. Oh, you can see them a little bit. But, yeah, I began self-harming. And I definitely am not proud of that, of course. I'm not proud of that, but that's what I did in the moment, and that's what I thought was going to help me. So, I'm sorry, Zendaya's video first. I'm trying to get her new video before she starts fussing. So I started self-harming at the beginning of December, and I remember 3 days after Christmas. Now, like I said, I usually go to therapy on... Oh, I'm sorry. I usually go to therapy on Thursdays. But the way Christmas was in 2015, I couldn't go to therapy. I think the Thursday in 2015, Christmas Eve was on that Thursday. So I didn't have therapy. I had therapy Monday the 28th. So, on the 28th, I remember getting up. Nobody was home. And I was just like, I can't go on like this for much longer. I can't go on like this anymore. I can't function. I can't go out. I don't want to be here. So, now mind you, this is a statistic fact, it's proven that most suicides are very spur of the moment. Like, it takes 1 second to decide, you're gonna commit suicide. Very rare occurrences of somebody actually planning out their suicide. Most of the time, it's out of nowhere, out of the blue, they just do it. It's a lot of times it's not planned out. And so I had one of those situations where I was like, you know what, I'm done, I'm don't want to do this anymore, I'm gonna give up, I'm not gonna be here anymore. So I grabbed a bottle of pills. I don't know if it was prescription, I don't know if it was over the counter, I really don't remember. The whole day was a blur to me, honestly. And I took it, took a whole bunch, and I sat in the bathtub, and I just cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And I woke up covered in pill-filled vomit. And I got up and left the bathroom like nothing happened. I woke up about 7 hours later, I think. 7 hours later, yeah. So I got up and I was like, I have therapy in a couple hours, so I act like nothing happened. And I was gonna walk into therapy and say nothing. I was gonna act like I was fine, but I couldn't. So I went to therapy that night and I told her, I said, I tried to commit suicide today. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore, and I need help now. And she said, okay. She called my mom back to the office, and I got sent to DBH, which is Derby Behavioral Health, which is my local mental facility. So I went to DBH. I got up there and I got a bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was hospitalized. I hated it. I hated it. It didn't work because, you know, it's one of those things where if you don't really want to get help, you're not going to get it. And even though I was getting help, I was so focused on I want to go home, 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 that I was not focusing on what I was there for. And so now when you get checked in voluntarily by a doctor, unless there's extenuating circumstances, which I will get into, you have to stay for 3 days. So after 3 days, I begged my dad to sign me out. I begged, pleaded, cried. I wanted him to sign me out so bad, and he did, because I was begging so bad. I just wanted to leave. So I was in DBH from December 28th, 2015 to January 2nd, 2016. That was my hospital duration there. And so after I left there, things at home kind of changed. My parents were not arguing around us anymore, around me anymore. We had family game nights occasionally, but all of that only lasted for about 2-3 months. So I just kind of went back to what it was. I went back to seeing my therapist every week after school, and things I kind of just act like nothing really happened. Yeah, so I just continued out. 2016. 2017 rolls around, and it got bad again. 2017 everything just got bad again. I fell down a hill. I was miserable. I was so depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't eat for a while. I just shut everybody out, and I just didn't care about anything anymore. So that's how I led my year, 2017, I'm sorry. Right? 2017? Yeah, 2017. I just went with the flow of being at rock bottom, you know? I was in one situations where I was so used to being at rock bottom, I was comfortable. I was comfortable being sad because I knew when I got happy, I was going to get sad again. So what's the point, you know? But that's how I led 2017. So then the hardest thing of my life happened in 2017. My dad moved out. I'm not going to explain the situation which caused him to move out, because it's not something that I need to put online, and it's not something that my family would appreciate being online. So I'm just going to say my dad moved out because of a situation that happened. And I was devastated. Me and my dad were always so close. I'm daddy's little girl to this day. And me and my mom never really had a relationship because I was so close to my dad. It was just like I was his kid, you know. I'm sorry. I was just my dad's kid. Me and my mom just didn't really have that relationship. So my dad moved out. It hit me very hard. He moved out in November. So, yeah, it was very difficult for me. So, then, can you stop kicking me? Can you stop kicking me? Guys, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. My dad moved out in 2016. My dad moved out in November 2016, not 2017. So, my dad moved out in November 2016, and I just had a really crappy 2017. So then around the year anniversary of my dad moving out, the year anniversary of my dad moving out in 2017, November, it just got really bad. You know, I was reminded of my dad leaving. I was reminded of everything. And I had another situation happen, which I'm also not going to get into and discuss because a lot of people in my life don't know about it. And I don't think the way for them to find out is through a YouTube video. So I'm not going to discuss something devastating that happened to me in 2017. I'm just going to say I had a very, very, very horrible thing happen to me in 2017 in October, actually. And it stopped my world. So, December 2017, 2 years after my first hospitalization, it happens again. I get checked into DBH on December 3rd. Same reason, self-harming, suicidal ideation. I'm sorry if I'm like being weird. She's like kicking me right now. If you can see, she's kicking me. But yeah, I got sent back to DBH December 3rd, 2017. And this time, I wanted to get help. I wanted to be better. I wanted to get my life back on track. And so I actually focused on the program. I got really close to two of the counselor type therapists there. I got really close to two girls in there that I still talk to and I'm still in contact with to this day. I was so focused and so heavily invested in my treatment and my hospitalization at DBH in 2017. So I got checked in the 3rd and I left the 15th of 2017. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with years and dates. I really am. So I was there for, how long is that? 9 days. I was there in 2017. So then in December 28th of December 2017, I missed my period. And my periods were very regular. They were very 28th spot on. They were there. She was there 28th of every single month. So when I missed it, I kind of knew I was pregnant. So the 29th, I took one of the first response pregnancy tests. It was positive. I'm not going to get too deep into this because I have a pregnancy story. I will link that down below if you guys want to see that, if you haven't seen it already. So I'm not going to get too deep into my whole pregnancy situation. I'm just going to talk about the depression aspects of my pregnancy. But I found out I was pregnant, because the 2 lines in the pink test were very faint. So I kind of found out I was pregnant December 29th, but I found out I was for sure pregnant January 3rd of 2018, and I was pregnant. So my pregnancy was very anger-filled. I was very angry during my pregnancy. And I think it was just from a place of very deep pain. I was very confused because even though I wanted a family and even though I have said for years that I knew I was going to be a teen mom, I just had a feeling I was going to be a teen mom, I was very confused because I don't know what a family looks like. I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. I don't know how to have a family because I didn't have one that was together. And don't get me wrong, I am thankful for what I do have, but it's very terrifying starting a family of your own if you don't know how a family works. So a lot of my anger was just pain and confusion and how am I going to do this? Did I get myself into what I can't handle? Like, how can I do this? And that's what I think a lot of my anger for my pregnancy came from. It wasn't really anger towards anybody but myself, really, but it just reflected on everybody and everything. So then, at the end of the school year, June of 2018, I was at my peak of anger, and it was just really bad. So actually, we're going to rewind to May. a little bit. I actually went back to DBH in May of 2018 during my pregnancy because my anger was just horrible and I couldn't handle it anymore. I was in DBH I was only there for 4 days, but I went to my 3rd DBH stay in May of 2018 during my pregnancy. So then June comes around, my anger kind of hit its peak and my relationship fell apart. I was just this negative being that affected everyone and everything who was around. So my relationship fell apart and I just got very depressed because, I was pregnant. My relationship was falling apart. I can't contain my anger. I can't contain my emotions, and everything was just not going right. But eventually, I realized I needed to get better for my baby, and I did. And then in July of 2018, I was 8 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant. And I had these really bad stomach pains, and I was, like I said, I was going through a really emotional time, and so when I went through these stomach pains, I was like, they hurt really bad. So I went to the hospital. I went to EB, checked into the emergency room. Don't know why they didn't put me in the maternity wing, but they checked into the emergency room. And I kept screaming, I want the baby out. I want her out. I want her out. I want her out. I just want to hold, like, I wanted her out because I was in pain and I was so emotionally drained and exhausted, and I was just so I was mentally tired. I was just so tired that I just wanted her out, and I kept saying that over and over and over again. And the nurse kind of just kept looking at me like I was funny and crazy. And, you know, the nurses were fine to me up until this point. And I've never experienced discrimination because of my mental illnesses, but as soon as these doctors found out that I had depression, they treated me like I was crazy. They said that me saying I want my baby out was a threat. They said that they were scared I was going to do something to get the baby out myself, which, dramatic. And they came back in the room and said she has to go to DBH. And we're all like, why? Like, what do you mean she has to go to DBH? She came here for stomach pains. You guys are sending her to a mental facility again that she's already been at 3 times. Like, what's going on? As soon as they figured out I had a mental illness, they treated me like I was crazy. As soon as they found out I had a mental illness, they treated me saying I want my baby out as a threat. So I sat in the hospital room until midnight, waiting for a police. Now, mind you, I had to have a police escort. I couldn't even get my mom to drive me up there. I had to get a police escort to take me from Lewis, Delaware, to Dover, Delaware, which is about an hour drive, 10-minute drive. So I was sitting in this hospital room with my boyfriend, my mom, my sister until midnight, waiting for this police escort. And it was just so crazy to me. It was just like, I came here for stomach pains. I tell you guys, my pregnancy is exhausting and I want to have my baby out. And as soon as you find out I have depression, you treat me like that was a threat. So then the cop walks in and says where we're going, says what's going on. And I see him reach, and I'm sorry, like, this part is like this part of the whole story is probably the hardest. Like, I know I had suicide attempts before and I've been hospitalized before, but like this part I feel like hit the hardest, honestly, for some reason. But I saw him reach for his waist and I was like, what is he doing? And he pulls a pair of handcuffs out and says, I'm sorry, but anybody who gets in my car has to wear handcuffs. It's company policy. I said, what? You're going to handcuff an 8-month pregnant girl, because I came to the hospital with stomach pains? I cried so hard because I was just like, as soon as these people found out I had a mental illness, they treated me like I was insane. They treated me like I was crazy. And I feel like the reason why this hurts so bad is because I've never been discriminated against for my mental illnesses. I never felt less than. I've never felt like I was going to be belittled because of it. I've always felt empowered because of my mental illnesses. And then to have this happen was just like, this is why people don't speak up. This is why nobody said. This is why people suffer in silence, because you treat them like they're crazy. And so he put the handcuffs on me. He agreed to put them in the front, at least. And I hugged my mom and I hugged my boyfriend and I just started bawling because I was just like, what is going on right now? And so I was hysterical the whole entire way. So I went up there, I went to DBH, I got checked in at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I got to bed. And the next day I woke up and I was angry. I was calling my dad. Like, they have rules, obviously, in a mental hospital. You know, you have a schedule. You only do phone calls at certain times. And the last 2 times I was there, I was very compliant. I was very, I was compliant. I was not a bad child. I was always following the rules. I was always following procedure. But this day, I was not. I was going off on everybody. I was call my mom, call my dad, call the doctor. Like, I need to get out of here because, mind you, I was 8 months pregnant. It was not mentally good for me to be in there that pregnant for no reason, you know? And so I got to leave the next day because they realized that I did not belong there and I was not safe there. So I went on to deliver my daughter in September. Actually, I say this a lot. I had my daughter September 14th, 2018, and I got diagnosed with depression September 14th, 2015. So a day that kind of changed my life forever. In 2015, one of the saddest days of my life, a day that I got diagnosed with a horrible illness, I had my daughter exactly 3 years later, which I think is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I had her. Like I said, if you want to learn more about my birth story with her, watch my 16 and pregnant video. And then after I had her postpartum depression, I don't really know if I always say I don't really know if my depression after I had her was postpartum or just my clinical depression. Let me just say this real quick. Clinical depression is an imbalance in the brain. A clinical depression is a brain issue. Clinical depression is not depression. You can have depression, which is just a deep sadness. You can have clinical depression, which is an actual chemical imbalance in your brain. You can have seasonal depression, which is depression with the seasons. You can have all types of different depression. But clinical depression is when the illness is actually in your brain. You can see it on scans. You can see it scientifically. You can see clinical depression. So I didn't know if after I had her was clinical depression or was postpartum depression. I think it was clinical because the difference between clinical depression and postpartum depression, the two differences are that in postpartum depression, you usually don't feel connected to your baby, and you usually have thoughts of hurting yourself or your baby. I did not have either of those. Me and her were always so connected. We were always so attached. And so that's why I said it was clinical depression that was acting up. But because I just had a baby, everybody just kind of wants to tack postpartum into it. But I personally think it was my clinical depression acting up, but it was really bad. I was here by myself with her a lot, well, all the time, basically. Me and my boyfriend broke up. He broke up with me when she was about a month old. We got back together since then, obviously, but we did break up when she was born, and I was going through a very hard time. I was here with her by myself 95% of the time. I was in the dark room with her by myself 95% of the time. I was so alone. I felt like nobody cared about me. Nobody was ever home. Like, everybody went out on Friday nights and just left me with her by myself here. And I don't know. I was in a very dark place, and I just kind of realized I have a baby now. I have a daughter who looks up to me for so much, and I have to be okay for her. So ever since then, that's what I've been doing. I've been okay for her. So yeah, that's my depression and suicide story. I'm sorry if it was kind of all over the place. I just wanted to make this a very real, raw, unedited video, so it's more relatable and more just real. Thank you guys so much for watching. My social medias are down below. I will link my Teen Mom story down below also, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.